Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Demetrius Johnson, and you're listening to MMALatestNews.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to MMA Latest. I'm here joined with Quilter, and we're going for the UFC Vegas 11 preview show. If you're here from Facebook, I know you guys are already watching, but make sure to go over to the YouTube channel and press subscribe as well. We're on the way to 10k subscribers. There's 60,000 of you on this page. Jump over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and also if you're watching on YouTube, of course, if that button's still red, make sure to press it so you don't miss any of the content. Quilter, 2 years in the making, this fight's been it's been teasing us, but now we've got Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley stepping in the cage tonight. Touch wood, nothing goes wrong within the next 3-4 hours. But Quilter, what a fight card in fact we've got tonight.
Man, I'm so excited. This is like
pay-per-view worthy.
We were saying it off air, yeah, that it's kind of shocking. Like if there was, go back maybe a few months when Covington was interim champ or Woodley was champ. If one of those, if Covington beat Usman at some point, like if there was title on the line, this would be a pay-per-view card. This is like, it's a really high quality card. I'm loving it. I don't see many flaws. I'm looking forward to every fight.
Yeah, definitely. That the main card is stacked, and in the past couple of weeks we've lost a couple of fights, but fortunately tonight, again, touch wood, we haven't lost any fights. So we're actually scheduled a 14 fight card. In the past month or two, we've had 9, 10, 11, fight cards. 14. It could be a bit of a drag tonight, couldn't it?
Yeah, man. Like I don't know, the body doesn't become accustomed to these late night fights at all. Like I'm doing this so long, and it's just getting harder. But it depends on the fight card. Like some fight, like last week I was struggling for a little bit for the main event, but yeah, it could be a long night. But it depends on how timing goes, how many knockouts. I have hope. I have a lot of hope with this main card that I'll be wide awake come 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. With the main card open, you got Kevin Holland versus Darren Stewart. If you're dragging along through those prelims, that's some way to open up the main card.
Yeah, you're looking at a fight that's probably like, you'd be shocked if it goes the distance, really, wouldn't you? Like, Darren Stewart, he won. He beat Makitola last time, wasn't it, a submission? And like, he's known for knockouts. Like, he's called the dentist for a reason. And then Holland's done it. He's on 2 fights in a row, both finishes. Like, wasn't the last one back in August? Yeah, last fight was in August. He was absolutely, it was amazing. Absolutely lethal, striking so good. 2 lads, I can't imagine anything but 2 lads stand in the center and just absolutely scrap.
Yeah, both of these fighters are, I guess with 2020 and the COVID situation, a lot of fighters have come more into the spotlight, and these two are definitely one of those. Kevin Holland, he was meant to have a fight against Jack Marshman back in UFC London. Didn't happen, but he's on a 2-fight win streak now. Anthony Hernandez and Jacqueline Buckley. As you mentioned, that was some fight. Buckley coming in for his first fight. Kevin Holland is not someone you want to be making your debut against. He got the knockout win in that 3rd round. I think this is one of those ones where you're going to have 2 rounds of them going back and forth. But, Darren Stewart, the dentist, is no joke in this division.
No, not at all. And if you're actually talking about fighters who were kind of in the spotlight for this year, you kind of have to look at Stewart a little bit because of that UFC London card, how that was cancelled, and his fight against Babinski ended up being on Cage Warriors. Now, he lost that fight. It wasn't particularly entertaining either, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, he's got a lot of spotlight ever since that fight, and then his last one as well, and he got the finish. But yeah, I don't know who I want to see win this, but Stewart, he's always one to watch. Holland, I said 2 in a row. His last fight, he knocked Buckley out. It's really put him at the forefront. He's had a few cancellations as well. Like, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and I was thinking, whoever wins this fight tonight is probably going to be walking away with $50,000 extra in their bank account, because one of these are going to get, if not a performance of the night bonus, they're getting fight of the night bonuses as well. But you mentioned there Darren Stewart. He was meant to fight, Martin Vettori on that same card that Kevin Holland was going to fight. But someone who Vettori has picked up in the eyesight is Kevin Holland. He said tonight, I called out Darren Stewart. I didn't think he was the guy I thought I was calling out. So we can go for a drink afterwards. But Marvin Vettori, you're next.
You know what? I love that fight. That would be a fantastic fight. And Vettori, he's the guy who's just been he's been dying for a fight, man. Like you got a feel for him. Like he's got a lot of just frustration built up. But yeah, no matter what happens tonight, I wouldn't mind seeing that. Wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I wouldn't mind seeing the winner in his face and Vettori be a great scrap, really. But yeah, Holland and Vettori be a banger.
100%. We have a quick look at the tail of the tape. You've got the age-old US versus UK rivalry coming up here. 18-5, 12-5. It's a very close, in terms of experience and in terms of their statures as well.
There's a bit of a reach advantage there, Mitch.
There is, which might come in handy for Mr. Kevin Holland, mightn't it?
Yeah, use that reach, just kind of get it, kind of find his range, and then just throw that right hand and get the finish. That's how I could kind of see it happening. But if he is to use that reach, but Darren Stewart is really good at closing distance. Like Darren Stewart and getting like when he gets in your face and when he starts striking, oh my God, it looks like that man can hit like a truck.
Definitely, and based on his last fight, distance wasn't a factor there with his guillotine win over Makitodo in just a minute and a half of that first round. So if he can get into the range of Kevin Holland to get it beyond that reach disadvantage that he has, it could do some damage on the ground.
You never know. It's one of those fights. That's the beauty of the sport, man. We kind of see just everything when they get into these situations, like Stewart did the last time. What we didn't think that they were capable of, you realize how good they are and what they can do, and then they pull it off and just win performance and night bonuses as a result. The beauty of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We can't guarantee what the fight is going to bring, but what I can guarantee is that post-fight octagon speech, or it's not really a post-fight octagon speech anymore, but that post-fight speech is going to have some flames to it. Both Kevin Holland and Darren Stewart know how to end the night when they're on the mic.
Good on the mic, actually. Yeah, you're right there. Didn't think of that one, Mitch. Nice.
I'll take credit for that one. But we'll move on from the main card opener to the main card closer. The reason why we're here, we're going into a bit more depth. Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, both of them coming off of losses in their last fights. Obviously, Colby Covington fought to the title at UFC 245 against the man that took the belt from Tyron Woodley and Kamaru Usman. Since then, Woodley fought Burns. He was supposed to fight Leon Edwards, of course, on that UFC London card. A lot of those UFC London fighters and names that were supposed to be on that card are fighting tonight. But Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, we've been waiting for this fight to happen. It should have happened 2 years ago when Woodley faced Darren Till, of course, when he was champion. But we finally get to see it tonight. And I think, especially in the last 2 years, there's always bad blood in this fight. But especially with what's going on in the past 6-7 months, there's a bit more extra to this one.
Yeah, this one seems a bit more serious in terms of the tension between the two of them. Like Covington, he's a bit odd show. He talks a big game. He's not really, I don't know. He's not the most likable character in the world. Some people love him. A lot of people hate him. And then you got Woodley. So Covington, never great. Woodley then in recent times hasn't been really the most fan appealing either. It's and then but you put two of them together, none of them like each other. So I don't know. I hope it comes out. I don't know if it's actually going to be that good of a fight, to be honest with you, but I have a bit of hope for it.
Yeah, definitely. We released the MMA debate yesterday between myself and Reese, and we were saying it could go one of two ways. It could be that Usman Covington fight that we saw, where both of them just stand in the middle of the cage and go hell for leather at each other. And I think that probably favours Tyron Woodley, because we've seen what Usman did against Colby Covington in terms of striking. He hurt him, and as that fight went the distance, that all that damage that Colby Covington had taken from Usman built up, and he eventually fell, and he put on a good show for himself. But it could also go the way of Colby Covington versus Robbie Lawler, where we see Colby Covington put Woodley up against the fence for 25 minutes and really grind out the result, put 250 strikes on him, and we see Woodley almost whimper out again.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird because you don't know what Woodley's going to show up, really, do you? Like if his last two fights aren't really that convincing for him, really, in terms of it. For Covington, then you don't know how he's going to fight. If he does decide to fight like he did against Usman, I think it could be a good fight then. if it's anything like the Lawler fight or the RDA fight, I don't know if I have much interest. I actually watched that RDA fight for the interim belt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I watched that in Belfast in a hotel, and there was a few fighters around. It was after the Brave event, and there was a few fighters around watching it as well, and a few coaches, and man, it just Covington just wasn't that good to watch in that fight whatsoever. Like he's really talented, but it's just not the most entertaining to watch. And for anyone who is a little random fact for you, but I was looking through Tapology earlier, just get that plug in. But if anyone's looking for a knockout in this fight, probably not the one to be thinking of, because none of these guys have gotten a TKO or KO finish since 2016.
Hey, it's 2020. Maybe this year's sprung up a few tricks on us. Maybe 2020 is the year one of these two get a finish tonight. But I was thinking, that RDA fight was the one where Colby Covington was told he was going to be cut from the UFC, and that's the fight that sparked all of this, almost the gimmick that he portrays. And it must be, I don't want to almost empathize with him, but it must be when you turn your phone off at night and he's ready to go to bed and he's just getting millions of messages towards him, but he's done it to himself. It must be one of those, because we've seen snippets of him, be his true self. Now, whether how much that is his true self, and the gimmick sometimes can almost overcome the personality, can't it? And it does become a point where for Colby, it's like, how much longer can he go on with this gimmick?
How long do you think it's all a gimmick, though? Like, do you think there's a bit of it that's a bit real?
I think 70% of it is a gimmick. I would say, I don't know. I think probably when he started, he probably didn't think it would go this far. And we saw it a bit like with Conor McGregor and his gimmick. Once he started becoming known for that gimmick, it took him, a bit too far, we could say. But I think Colby Covington's doing the same. And, it's smart for him, because everyone's tuning in either wanting him to win or wanting to see him get knocked out. So either way, he wins.
I guess in terms of what he's getting some. It's like the saying goes, all publicity is good publicity. Like,
yeah.
In this case, I'm not too sure. He's got a lot of hate. I'm not sure how much of it is. I think a good bit of it is a gimmick, because like 70% is probably fairly right. But it seems as though if it is a gimmick, when this started to what it's at now, it's like he's after going so far in that he's just like, yeah, I'm all in. There's no go. Like, there isn't any going back from all the stuff he's said, he's done. It's crazy, really. The comparison to Conor McGregor is a good one, though. I'm not too sure if I compare whatever gimmicks you call them there between two of them, but yeah,
yeah, he's certainly a personality, and it is interesting where because obviously he would have had that perfect chance, that loss against Kamaru Usman, to act a bit more humble, to act a bit more a bit more human, and say goodbye almost to that gimmick, because the whole reason he started the gimmick was because his job was on the line. He was going to get cut after that RDA fight. He won it. He made the speech, and since then he's become one of the bigger personalities and bigger names. You don't it doesn't matter how many numbers he brings into the sport, but a big reason why Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington were so big was because of Colby Covington.
Yeah, fair. The back and forth helped quite a lot. Usman's not known for being the most exciting either, or getting the most. He doesn't get the most fan mail of the welterweight division either. I think Covington. Yeah, you could say Covington kind of carried it, did he? Like, in terms of the kind of bringing the press, bringing the media to the hype, to the fight, and the way he was talking, the way he was getting a rise out of Usman. It was I guess he does carry it in a sense.
Definitely, but we'll have a quick look at the tele tape. What are you looking at here? 2-inch height advantage to Colby Covington, but again, it's all pretty much even.
Do you know what I can never get over is, so I remember back Darren Till fight, looking at the tape for Till and Woodley, and thinking, my God, Darren Till is huge. He's like, he'll just keep. I was thinking back then, he'll keep him at bay. He might he'll land his shots and then might get finished. No, man, Woodley, don't matter how short he is in terms of height, like he's got a good reach for that weight class, and he's really well able to close the distance as well. Like, he's really good at that. Solid ground game, solid wrestling, when he shows up, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, it has been tough, hasn't it? 'Cause, all those things you mentioned, the explosive nature that he's known for. He's known for that heavy rocket of the right hand,
Yeah.
and it won him the title, of course. But those last two fights, he's not been able to find it. Whether it's a mental thing or whether it's just he's got in there on the night. The stars have got a bit too much for him in terms of the lights have been a bit too much, especially against Usman. The Burns one you can almost say is different because he was expecting to fight Edwards. It was a short notice fight in an empty arena for the first time, I'd imagine, in his career that he's faced that, and Burns is on a hot streak. But I think, especially this one, is because of the bad blood between these two. I think they might just be a bit more of the mental itch. The last two, albeit there was a competitive almost nature to it, a competitive rivalry in terms of selling the fight, but there was no bad blood towards Gilbert Burns. There was no bad blood towards Kamaru Usman. It was very much we step in the ring, best man wins. But tonight, Woodley wants to end Colby Covington's career.
Yeah, that's the good way to. It's very, very personal, this fight. I kind of like it because it brings a bit more, it brings a bit more excitement, a bit more hype. And why I'm a bit more excited is I only remember that there was Masvidal and Woodley. They were trained together, weren't they?
They certainly were.
They put up that.
They certainly were.
That's pretty big. It's interesting those two kind of crossing paths to train, and Masvidal helping Woodley for this fight. So I think that could actually play a factor in terms of his headspace as well. Like you can imagine someone like Masvidal has this type of aura around them in a sense where they're like able to fill you with confidence with how laid back and how confident he is in his abilities, and just general, like he seems very kind of honest and very confident in how he kind of holds himself. So I can imagine if he was training with Woodley, he'd be able to fill him with confidence as well. So I think that could play a factor actually. But yeah,
especially when he was training with Colby Covington for 9 years, 9-10 years, he knows he'll know Colby Covington inside out. He knows what his weaknesses are, what is, little bits of his gives, and what to do to help Woodley get the edge tonight.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's mad, isn't it? How kind of close knit that division is now. It's like, oh yeah, so Covington, he was training with, he was training with Masvidal. Masvidal's after going off in the division on his own. He's just fought Usman, he's BMF champ. Then now Woodley's gone off training. I must look into more. There's definitely a lot of those who've cross trained before. They all train the same gym.
And we go 12. Yeah, with Usman, of course. And we go 12 and 14 months ago. Masvidal flying need Tyron Woodley's best friend in Ben Askren.
There we go. Everyone's interlinked in that division, isn't it?
It's like, come on. Because I know there was I think someone tweeted, like, Ben Askren's like, how do you feel about Masvidal and Woodley teaming up? It's like, it's fine. Woodley just needs to go and do what he needs to do. So clearly, on a competitive standpoint, Ben Askren sees nothing about it. But it must be a little bit bitter when you're watching your best friend train with a guy who knocked you out inside 5 seconds.
You could say that. Yeah. Askren seems to take that in good spirits, really. Like, he just takes the piss out of it in social media. Like, this guy's really love to see it.
100%. We get your prediction. Who's going to come out on top of this? And Leon Edwards is going to have a close eye on this fight, isn't he? Because he really should be fighting one of these two tonight.
Prediction. It's one of those things where, like, heart says one thing, head says the other. So
that's been me all day.
Yeah, man, really is. I'm hoping, because I do enjoy Woodley. I don't enjoy his rapping now, but like I enjoy him as a fighter. Like his rapping, Jesus, his rapping, it's god awful. Like I can't do much better myself. So like, but still, it's not great. But yeah, in terms of fighting, I hope he shows up. The old him shows up a bit more, where he's more motivated. Not motivated, I guess, but just sharper. He can let that big right hand go. He's just himself again, the one we're used to seeing, like the one we saw against Darren Till, for example. Yeah. And I think that Masvidal might bring that out of him. So Hart says Woodley. I'm gonna say decision. I don't think this is gonna be a finish at all. Just from that stat earlier, it's 2020, so God knows this could be.
Logan Paul's fighting Mayweather in a couple months.
Oh man, don't even get me started on that.
That's what this year's brought to us.
No. You're delighted with that fight, actually, aren't you?
Don't.
Yeah, we leave that one there. I'm not going near that one. All right, what's your one? Go for it.
You know what? I've been the same. I've been thinking, maybe there is a chance Woodley comes out and knocks his head off inside 3 rounds. But the other part of me, my head goes, Colby Covington's just going to out wrestle him for 5 rounds. But I'm going to say Woodley gets it done in the 4th. I think we see an Usman style fight, Usman Colby Covington fight. I think Woodley, we see the best of him tonight. But my only sort of my last thought on this fight is Woodley's 38 years of age. Colby Covington's 32, and Woodley's been there and done everything. And his coach Dean Thomas came out and said that once you get into those late 30s, you're not thinking what you thought at 25, 26. You're thinking, I don't want to hurt people anymore.
Yeah, man. Dean Thomas, and he's one you'd listen to as well. Oh, he's a legend actually, man. So he's right, yeah. Hearing that now, you puts a lot of things into perspective for this fight.
100%.
I'm gonna stick with my pick though.
100%. We'll move on to the co-main. Someone else who is on that tail end of the career, on a 4-fight loss streak for the first time in their career, and we'll be looking to change that pretty quickly. Donald Cerrone, but he's going to have a very tough task on his shoulders when he comes up against Niko Price in the co-main event.
Ah man, it's gonna be a war. Feel bad
That's not going the distance, is it?
So, if that goes the distance or something, it's either gonna be an absolute bloodbath, or both guys walk are unable to walk out because they're so beat up. But if it does go distance, I'll be absolutely shocked.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on Donald Cerrone at the moment? Obviously, 37 years of age. He was brought in this year to be the guy that faces McGregor in return. A big payday for him. He lost that. He had very close. Well, I say very close fights. The wars with Tony Ferguson. You remember that. He's fought the top of that division, and he lost to Anthony Pettis in a fight where many thought the loser of that wouldn't be in the UFC anymore. People want that tooth on Pettis at the moment in terms of his status in the UFC, and you could say the same for Cerrone at the moment.
It's funny that Cerrone on now. I can see him, if he's going to finish his career, he's going to finish in the UFC, and he seems like he wants to keep going. That 4 fight, the fact he's on 4 fights might give him a bit more motivation. But yeah, it's kind of sad seeing it really. But the difference is he's not he's fought really high level guys every time. It's kind of, but you'd like to see him do well. He's always entertaining. It's kind of for entertainment value, it's the perfect fight. In terms of kind of danger and kind of whatever risks for his record and whatever losing streak he's on at the moment, it's a risky fight.
Yeah, 100%. Niko Price is, you can always say he's the younger version of Donald Cerrone. He's someone who's going to come out, give you a war for 3 rounds, and whether it goes his way or the other, you're going to be in for a good fight. That up kick against James Vick, of course. Poor James Vick. That one is one of those where you watch that and you go, I can feel that.
Oh, that was. I remember watching that and I stood up. It was insane. Loved it. Yeah, but he's not on. He's none of it. Price is one of those guys. No reason I can't see going distance. He's never been the distance in the UFC. So he's always involved in the finish. Last one's Dr. Stockbridge, but still, he's always involved in a fight that doesn't go the distance. He's that type of fighter. Cerrone, he likes the match. He likes to match his opponents. Cerrone starts slow. He starts slow in the first round. I think from second round, third round, if it makes to the third round, she'll be an absolute war. But
yeah, there's a good chance one of these gets stopped by the doctor again tonight. We'll have a quick look at the Taylor tape. What are you looking at here? Obviously, the reach is in favour of Niko Price in this one. But again, that experience in Cerrone's record, 36-15, and there's a 1-no contest in there as well. Yeah, boy, you can't take away from that.
It's just experience, really, isn't it? That's kind of it in terms of what it's separating with. I know there's a small bit of reach in terms of the favour of Price, but besides that, they're fairly even, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty much carbon copies of each other. It's if you're cloning Donald Cerrone, you say Niko Price.
Did you see that fight poster, the fan-made fight poster, where it's the picture of both of them and their eyes are like golf balls?
Yes.
And they're
yes, BT Sport put it out, I believe, didn't they? Because that was a doctor stoppage for Niko Price against Vicente Luque, and of course Cerrone suffered the same fate against Tony Ferguson at the start of last year.
It was like that. I remember when I saw that poster, it was like
Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, it's literally what I expect this fight to be, is both guys walking out absolutely beat up the whole lot.
To be fair, you know what? This one's going to be exciting. The fact that there's no fans in the crowd, we'll be hearing every strike and everything they're saying to each other.
Oh man, I can imagine there's going to be shivers running down my spine listening to some of those shots that are going to get landed.
Do you think? Well, you said you don't think it's going to make the distance. You think who's saying is the one to get the stoppage tonight?
As much as I love Price, I think Price got a really long career in the UFC at him. I'm gonna go with Cerrone. I think he snaps it just because this is a different type of motivation for him now. It's kind of like he's at the tail end of his career, and he loves to fight. He loves to stand and bang as well. Like it's perfect for him, I think. To break this kid, it's risky. It's perfect. I think second round TKO.
That'd be interesting, especially because if he's a slow starter, you expect him to almost download Price's sort of fight style and really come out there in the second round. I'm gonna go the Niko Price win just because there's a bit. I think Cerrone's almost at that point now where he just turns up a bit like Johnny Hendricks did at the end of his career. He just turns up to fight. Obviously, he's in a lot better shape than Johnny Hendricks was at the end of his career. With all due respect to everyone, and just looking at their records here. Yeah, that too. I just look at their records here. Niko Price doesn't go on a two fight loss streak very much. He's very much win lose win lose. He lost to Vicente Luque, so maybe he'll return tonight, get that win. But I'll go for a third round stoppage. I think we get 1 round each out of them, and then Niko Price, maybe a submission win for him.
Interesting you say that actually, because I think Cerrone's ground game is it's obviously not untested, but it's not what he's exactly known for either. We all know him for his striking. So if it goes there, I don't know how I'd see it going on the floor. Being completely honest, I've literally looked at this fight. I've looked at some of both their previous fights, and I just think stand up. It's just the first thing that comes to mind. But it's a good shout, that Mitch.
Especially if they're both tired, they both put their heart and soul into those first 2 rounds. They might have a bit more in the gas tank because they're more likely to take that first round. Those first 2.5 minutes, they might start a little slowly, but you never know. But we'll move on to Fight Island 1 at least. The star of the show, Khamzat Chimaev, is back. He's already got 2 fights lined up for him. Gerald Meerschaert tonight, Damian Maia in a couple of weeks. First of all, I'll get your thoughts. What did you make of that? Was it a bit disrespectful to Meerschaert, or is it almost a piece of marketing genius to the UFC?
It's a tough one, that, because I really I can see why they did it, but the fact that it was announced is pretty bad. It's different division, you could argue that, but and the guy wants to fight, but he's just got this hype behind him that I'm kind of not surprised. Perfect marketing though, perfect marketing. If he wins this as well, he wins it convincingly. It just adds to the hype even more, and they really just push it on him, then trying to get him pumped up that welterweight division.
Yeah, I'll throw in the what if Meerschaert beats him? What does it do to the Damian Maia fight?
Honestly, it depends how he loses. I think, if he gets knocked out, I don't think he'd be cleared in time, depending on how it's severe. If he's submitted, he's a black, GM3 is a black belt, he's no slouch in the ground.
The press conference didn't. Chimaev, he told him Meerschaert's a black belt. I don't think he'd believe it right now, but you might find out at the end of the night.
Funny, you might, actually, but it's interesting. If he gets subbed, then it makes that Damian Maia fight a hell of a lot more risky, doesn't it? He's like, he just got subbed up at middleweight. Now he's going down to welterweight against the lad who's probably the best grappler the welterweight division's ever seen. I was going to say that's not 2 matchups. When you put it like that, that's not favourable for him. But, he looked good against John Phillips. Reece McKee came back in on that 11 days notice. We probably was going to see him a couple of weeks ago at UFC 252 against, obviously, on that Daniel Cormier card. But unfortunately, visa issues at the time didn't allow him to get into the country. But he's back tonight in at Smaller Octagon, making his US debut. He's probably going to want to put on a good show, isn't he? It's almost weird. We haven't seen a fighter before that is, going up and down the division so frequently. Yeah, it's obviously he's only started, I guess, but in terms of what he's doing at the moment, it's really, really cool because of the activity he has in both. So he's climbing both at the same time. It's mad when you think of it. It must
come to an end at some point, right? He's got to pick one, surely.
McGregor held 2 belts.
He did, but he didn't have.
I know, yeah. He did
Alvarez booked at the same time as he booked Aldo.
Yeah, that's true. Well, in this case, don't know how far I can go. Like how fast do you push him?
Facing Izzy Ennisman in one night. Is that where we're going?
Do you know what? It's 2020. It's 2020. Kamza is like what we've seen of him so far. He's been really impressive. I think tonight just decides how. I think we kind of will be able to distinguish if he's got this really high roof this soon, or does he need 1 or 2 more fights? Because if he wins this convincingly, I think it's big for him.
I think it's also a good point where he's fighting 2 competitors now that are household names in terms of the sport of MMA, and are vastly experienced. He's come up against Reece McKee and John Phillips, who are very, they're seasoned professionals in the sport, but in terms of the UFC, they're not widely known, and they're not someone where you go, oh, he's a UFC veteran just yet. Obviously, Reece McKee was making his debut in the UFC that night. So I think the fact that they got Meerschaert and Damian Maia, who have got 40, 50 fights each, it would be an interesting thing. But it also could flip on its head where you go, you've got someone who's 8-0 in Chimaev coming up against a 33, I think, and 13 fighter in Meerschaert.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, Phillips, I think I called Phillips, he's probably not, maybe to some, he's not a household name. In Europe, he's very well known. He's been around the UFC for a while. He's obviously known for his striking. So when we didn't really get to see Kamza strike with him, just took him down, mauled him. This one is a bit more, GM3, he's a bit more well-rounded, and he's a bit more well-known, so it's a more dangerous fight in a sense. And he's also, funny actually, about Meerschaert, he's only been decision twice in UFC. So he's got kind of like, he's got that experience, he knows how to finish, he knows what it's like to go the distance. It's very dangerous, yeah, you're right.
He is coming off, he's lost 3 in his last, 4, in his last 6. Lost against Ian Heinisch, beat Darren Wynn, lost to Eric Anders, beat Trevin Giles, and obviously back-to-back losses with Kevin Holland and Jack Hermansson. Obviously, we know Chimaev is still undefeated, but we'll have a quick look at the tail of tape, of course. That experience is going to come in handy, I think, for Meerschaert, isn't it?
Meerschaert's got more losses than Chimaev has fights. But now, do you know what though? Like, I guess experience is obviously huge. Like, Chimaev might be alright with this, like, because he's used to sparring guys like Gustafsson. Did you see
That's
that
very
video?
true. Yeah, Gustafsson's. When you're a middleweight, you don't want to be sparring people like Alexander Gustafsson.
No, like, the fact that he's able to stand there and spar with him is just crazy.
Yeah, that is pretty mental when you think of it like that. But especially he came under a little bit of hot water this weekend with some of the things that he'd done in the UFC hotel, which it does blemish him, and he's someone who's now, I don't know whether it's a fight fan thing, but he's already instantly love him or hate him.
For Kamzat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that, because I was going to say, it's like, it can't be Meerschaert talking.
Everyone loves Meerschaert.
He's really likable. I think he's a good personality. But yeah, Kamzat's got this. I really like him. I've liked him since, I think I've watched him since he's 2-0, really. I remember I went into him for one of his fights as well, and I was chatting to him. A few times. He's, man. I really like him, but I can see why people don't like him. I think there was a few who were saying that they didn't agree with all the stuff he was saying, or they thought he was a bit disrespectful. But he's trying to make a name for himself. He's got this hype, and the guy just wants to fight. So fair enough.
Do you think there's almost a bit of a immaturity in his career at the moment, especially being, he's 26 years of age. He's had 2 UFC fights that have gone very well, and obviously he's been very publicly backed by Dana White. Do you think there's any part of him that's almost getting a bit too big for his boots, for want of a better phrase?
This business is about money, lad. It's all like, at the end of the day, like, he's obviously wants to smash this person, smash that person. He does, yeah. Like, you can tell he wants to fight, but at the end of the day, the faster he gets pushed up, the faster that money starts coming in. And he'd be making, like, if he starts getting these 50k bonuses left, right, and centre, he's like, I smashed this lad, go in, smash another lad in there. That's 100k, and that's not even my base pay, and that's not even his win bonus. That's just that's just the performance of the night. Like, he's just sitting there thinking, get in, get the hype, make a load of money, and even if he loses 1 or 2, his hype is going to be there if he just fight. And So his base pay just goes up because they can negotiate a good contract. I'm sure his manager will be able to negotiate a good contract anyway. But yeah, it's all about money, man. There's no immaturity about him at all. I think he's actually being quite genius with how he's going about it. I know some people say disrespectful, but he's making good money. I'm pretty sure.
100%. 100%. I think I like what he's doing in terms of the cage. I think maybe his personality is still something to still be shone a little bit more as he makes his way in his career in the UFC. But I just think there, he's going to have 4 fights should everything go his way. He'd already be matching the record that Cerrone has laid out in terms of 4 fights in 1 calendar year in his debut year.
True, actually. Did Cerrone have 4 in his debut year?
Not in his debut year, but most fights in a calendar year, he's going to be on 4, which is a couple more. But he's going to be tying that record should he fight Miesha and Damian Maia.
I think it's 5 fights is the most ever fought in a year.
Wait, it'd be very close then.
It's very close. I must check that. I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it might be 5. I think you're probably right.
Yeah, because Hannah Cyphers is on 4 losses. I remember this is a terrible way of knowing it, and she's not up there, but she's 1 away from entering that record.
Yeah, I think you're right in terms of it being 5 then.
Yeah, and Angela Hill is 1 away as well, and so is Boom Boom Keller. He could go for 6 actually, but yeah, in terms, this is probably one of the quickest, one of the craziest debut years you can have in the UFC. Like, he's not even there a few months.
He wasn't known to the wider audience a month and a half ago.
That's the key word there, Mitch. He was Brave CF were all over him. They loved having him.
It's crazy, but we move on, of course, to the strawweight division. Of course, we got Mackenzie Dern up against Randa Markos. Mackenzie Dern, obviously, we'll take a look at the record there, 8-1. She's been training with Perillo, of course, improving on the boxing. What did you make of this fight? And do you think we're going to see maybe a different Mackenzie Dern tonight?
Funny, I actually thought this fight was lower. It was 1 down further.
It is 1 down below it. Johnny Walker's up before this one.
I was looking at it, I thought this was the second fight of the main. Yeah, this fight, I can just see Dern winning it, really. Like, see her subbing her, and that'd be it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously she fought Hannah Cyphers, who for the first part of the fight was winning the fight comfortably on the feet. But I don't know why Hannah Cyphers did what she did, but she, with all due respect, she decided to go for the takedown, which against Mackenzie Dern is almost, it's, for want of a better phrase, it's suicide in terms of your career. You don't want to be, you don't want to be taking her down.
Yeah, fight IQ wasn't exactly the highest there. It's too well you're going to fight with her, and that she is absolutely lethal on the mat. You're not going to hang with her on the mat at all. She's just going to pick some limb or grab some neck and just finish you quickly. She's that good. But yeah, Cyprus made it.
Definitely. Both of these are coming off. Both of these have lost to Amanda Ribas, of course, who's probably the hottest prospect in terms of the strawweight division. But up until that fight, Mackenzie Dern was 7-0 going into that fight against Amanda Ribas. But I think the trainer with Perillo and of course Chito Vera, that is the most sort of interesting aspect in terms of what she can display tonight.
It's a random one, really, for her, because one thing was kind of ever since she's now got her for Dern, she's got her weight under control now as well. So she adds that into the equation as well. So she had a fight cancelled. Is it 2?
I believe so, yes.
That were cancelled. One was cancelled.
Yeah, Hannah Cyphers and Ariana Camalosti.
Now she has all that intact. That there's no issues there, and then training as well, and training with really high level athletes. Mix that in with her grappling. She could become perfect, but the ideal candidate to kind of shoot up the division, really.
100%. 27 years of age. We know how good she is on the feet. And I wonder, obviously, Cyborg's connected to Perillo. Obviously, I'm putting very loose strings here in terms of them both being Brazilian. But I wonder how closely linked together they might be. Obviously, Chris Cyborg might have been gone right to Perillo. We've got this up-and-coming Brazilian fighter here who's very good on the ground, but she just needs some work on her boxing. Of course, the only UK UFC champion, Michael Bisping, had wonders with Perillo in his career, and helped him get that title that he was after for so long. But for Mackenzie Dern, I think tonight's going to be interesting for her. In fact, as you mentioned there, she became a bit of a meme in terms of the MMA world for missing weight so many times. But she's she looked in terrific shape in both of the fights coming into it, and she's she made that limit pretty easy in 2 fights in a row now, which is we see the likes of Ray Borg. Once you start becoming known for missing weight, it does become a lot trickier for you. And unfortunately, Ray Borg recently got cut from the UFC. Also, did John Dodson got cut this weekend as well. I'm hoping we see him in Bellator, because that was a very strange one, especially with him beating Nathaniel Wood. But I think tonight's gonna be a good night for Mackenzie Dern. Be interesting to see. I'd like to see it go the distance to get a win that isn't a submission win though.
Interesting one actually. Yeah, I'd love to see her show off that boxing for a round or two and see how she gets on. And if worst comes to worst, maybe she's showing it off in the first and second, halfway through the second. If it's not working out, or if it's not working out in the first, implement the grappling. But she can mix it up as much as possible. I think she can get this win. But yeah, I think most likely be a sub. Never know really in this game. Interesting one about Markos. Markos has never won or lost 2 in a row in the UFC. There's one where there's a draw in the middle. It's really weird, and she's coming off. I'm pretty sure.
I lost to Amanda Ribas.
Yeah. So like, it'd be interesting because now she's got this really weird pattern going on. That you kind of think, okay, if you look at that pattern and you put her against someone who wasn't Mackenzie Dern, you think maybe she's just gonna get another win. But this could be the first time we actually see her lose twice in a row.
Yeah, that's that is crazy. I think she's on 14 fights in the UFC. Not counting her UFC the tough fights that she's had, but 7-7. That's quite bizarre, especially as you mentioned there, not a win streak or a loss streak in those times. But she thought a lot of the top of the division, that draw was against Marina Rodriguez. She's lost to Nina Ansaroff, Alexa Grasso, Courtney Casey, but she's beaten the likes of Carlos Barza, Angela Hill, Ashley Yoder. There's some good wins in there.
Former champion Angela Hill, who probably should be on a 4-fight win streak this year, but whatever. Probably one of realistically, Angela Hill is one of the hottest prospects at that weight class at the moment. She's really, really beaten some names. She's fought a lot of the who's who at that division, or who previously were the who's who.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess with your prediction, are you going against the grain in terms of the pattern that Markos has laid out? Are you going for a Mackenzie Dern win then, or are you gonna go with the statistics?
But you know, man, I love data. I love statistics. Absolutely love it. But there's times where you gotta look away from it. You gotta look at it and think a bit logically. You're thinking, okay, gotta think about this a bit clearly. I'd lean towards Dern massively. Like Markos is talented, very good. But I think in terms of the next step up for either of these, I think Dern can make it.
100%. I agree. I think Dern is going to get the win, but I'd like to see a different side of that, because we've seen a lot of her in the UFC in terms of getting the submission wins. But I want to see something different from her, because she is becoming, with all due respect, and it's a great way of making it. But Damian Maia is very known for his grappling, and of course, if you get put in those perimeters with Damian Maia for Mackenzie Dern, I'm sure it's a great career that she's going to have. But I'd like to see something from her on the feet.
Damian Maia, grappler. Did you not see his fight with Ben Askren? Striking masterclass, dude. No, in all respect to Damian Maia, he's amazing. He's one of my favorite fighters, like genuinely in terms of jiu-jitsu. I love watching him. But Dern, it's funny. Dern is, she could go that way and just start submitting everyone. But I she has a lot of years in her. She's got a lot of time ahead of her, and the way the sport's developed, it's it's an unforgiving sport. We saw Ronda Rousey when she was in the UFC, when she was submitting girls left, right, and center. When you don't have that striking, it shows when you get to high level. Like she could get to whatever, she could go up fairly far, and it gets to a point where it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not taking. So there's going to be one girl you're not taking down, and you get ripped up. You get a Holly Holm, just boom, head kick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're at a point in MMA, unless your name could be Nurmagomedov, you can't be a specialist anymore. You have to have everything at least at 50-60% of your capacity in terms of can you imagine? I don't know if this fight's gonna happen in the near future, but Mackenzie Dern, someone like against Zhang Weili, against a Rose Namajunas, against a Yoni and Jacek, those are different matchups. It's completely.
Do you know what? I'd love to see her fight Joanna at one point. At some point, I'd love to see that. I think it'd be interesting because it would really force her to improve her striking defense and actually look at the stand up and how to implement it in a way of defending it and getting the fight to the ground, or staying on the feet and try to stand with her. It'd be great to see. So yeah, like she's got these years ahead of her where she's gonna have to. And I think she's in a perfect camp for it. Like I think she could be the real deal to this division. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think, a little bit of news came out recently that, her husband and her former coach, had a bit of a clash and went head to head to each other. And I don't know whether that was because there was glaring almost mistakes or things to improve on that them as a family saw that the coach wasn't agreeing with. But I'd be interested to see if this Perillo partnership goes 1, 2, 3 years down the line, and when we're going, we see Mackenzie Dern hit that 30, 31 age where she's coming into the prime of their career. I think you're probably right. I think there's a couple. I think Tatiana Suarez is one of those names where you could see them taking over the division for a little while. Obviously, Zhang Weili is still quite young, so I think she could be up there. And Amanda Ribas, of course, she's going to be up there. But give it 3 years. Maybe those names that we just mentioned are the elite of the division.
I was gonna say in 3 years' time, with all this latter 30, I think that they're gonna be like, it's gonna be there's different level completely. I think they're all gonna be just scrapping it out. It's gonna be like a Shark Tank, that division, especially the top 5.
It already is.
It is, yeah, true. Love it.
Do you think we see a couple of them move up to flyweight, perhaps?
We saw that before. I thought we were gonna see more when it first kind of kicked off because JoJo, she moved up originally. And,
obviously, Jessica Andrade just moved up there. We've got Cynthia Calvillo up there at the moment. Amanda Ribas and Grasso, respectively, have made little trips up to the flyweight division.
Cynthia Calvillo did not make a little trip anyway.
She's there to stay.
Yeah, man. Like she rocked up. It's like you just kind of, he just rocked up, just basically kicked the doors down to that division. And was like, yeah, I'm here. Give me a title. She was incredible. I loved it.
100%. We'll have a quick look, of course, of the final fight on the main card that we haven't spoken about yet. Johnny Walker is back against Ryan Spann, 17-5, of course, against an 18-5. Both of them are very close, 6-6. You forget how big Johnny Walker is. He's now, again, someone who's moved over camps. He's gone with Coach Kavanagh, of course, at SBG. How much do you think that's going to improve him?
Oh man, levels definitely. They've had a few inside SBG recently. If you looking at stories and Instagram and stuff, they had I think they had an Olympic wrestling coach along those lines inside there. He's been training with some very good quality fighters inside there. So he's kind of like, he's in good hands. He's got some good minds, a lot of fighters around him as well. So I think he's going to be more disciplined actually. But I think he's still going to be a bit, maybe not. You know, he's known for being a bit wild. Like,
but this is getting his shoulder after winning a fight.
I'd say he's gonna still have that to him, but it's gonna be a little bit more kind of composed maybe. And I think he comes back from this, he's not too bad skids. I think he comes back from this kind of skid he's on, and I think he wins. I think this move is gonna be good for him.
I was going to ask you. You mentioned it a little bit, but do you think moving to someone like John Kavanagh is more a mental benefit for him than a physical benefit?
A bit of both, really. But yeah, I think that kind of, if you meet a lot of guys from SPG, a lot of them, they're all very
disciplined.
They're so, their mindset towards fighting and how they, just everything about them in terms of, if you speak to them about any fight that's come up, they just seem very, discipline is a very good word for it, but they're very focused. And
it seems like a family there. It seems like a very built-in family. It's like all for one through all almost. One
tribe, one vibe type of crack.
Yeah.
Yeah. They kind of, and Walker seems to have kind of been welcomed in fairly well anyway. Like he's
be interested to hear his Irish, wouldn't it?
He's there I can imagine him now in a tip jersey. He's trying to speak Irish. That is what I want to see.
Down in the Paddy Guinness.
Himself and he trains a good bit with Fleury. Will Fleury's come back soon as well. But Will Fleury got him in I hope I'm saying the second name wrong. Second name right. But he had him in a tip jersey one day, and I saw that. It's a county in Ireland, by the way, Mitch. It's a GA jersey, and I saw that and I was like, he'd love to see stuff like that. But, I'd love to see him speak Irish next. That's the next one. If he wins, just whips out a lot of Irish. It'd be great.
That would be incredible. You mentioned those back-to-back losses against Nikita Krylov and the knockout against Corey Anderson, which everyone, going into that fight, a lot of people were saying Johnny Walker wins this, he gets a title shot next, or is at least one away from them. There was a lot of him being the prospect to dethrone John Jones from the light heavyweight division. Obviously, he's vacated the belt and it's on the line next week. But, that Misha Zirkunov flying knee, that was an incredible knockout for Johnny Walker. The celebrations after almost tainted it because obviously he did get the injury from that afterwards. But, that loss to Corey Anderson is almost a slight blemish because obviously knowing the background of Corey Anderson in terms of being more of a wrestler, when you get a knockout like that against someone who's more of a wrestling sort of style, it can harm you, can't it? Really, when you're looking in as a fan, it can almost harm Johnny Walker more.
I can see where you're coming from, but there's not really any shame in those losses either, though. You kind of, it's one of those, because they're so high level, like they're so experienced, two of them, both fighters they lost there, really high level fighters. They've been around for a long time. They've fought some serious opponents in their years. So it's not like, Walker is still a blue chip prospect at the time. Like, so he was everyone's thinking, they're just pushing him too fast. Remember, some people thought they were pushing him too fast, but he's been incredible. But no shame in him. I think they're more of a learning experience. He's fought these guys that are really experienced. Take from those fights what you weren't good at or stuff that you can improve on, and bring it to the next. And SPANN is, another Dana White Contender Series prospect or product, and he's good, but he's not Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson's well-rounded, but there's two different levels there. But I think SPANN has that potential to get there. Just not yet. What are you thinking?
Yeah, definitely. This one's going to be interesting. As you mentioned there, the Contender Series is, thriving now in terms of the products and the prospects it's bringing into the sport. We've seen it recently. In this season, I think there's 23, 24 contracts being given out in the past 6 or 7 weeks, which is crazy. But, it seems to be the place to go right now. And for Ryan Spann, maybe this could be a scalp in his career. He is very strong, and it depends on which Johnny Walker comes out as well.
True, yeah, it depends how what type of Johnny Walker we see in this fight. Yeah, realistically, I don't know. How'd you see this one going?
I think this might be the toughest fight on the card to almost predict. I think Johnny Walker will get it done. I think that team that he's starting to build with John Kavanagh, I think that put him in good stead. But I'm just looking up at the division. A win here would put him in he's number 11 at the moment. He's beat Cirkunov. Maybe you rematch him with Nikita Krylov. Then you're looking at the elites of the division. See Anthony Smith, the Volkan Ozdemir, Yuri Prochaska, of course. You're looking at the very elites of the light heavyweight division, which is now John Jones has moved away from that division. It's it's really opened up again.
Yeah, it's good, man. You kind of love to see it in a sense because he's on that brink of just breaking into that. Like a win here and a big win then against.
Probably Anthony Smith, if he wins tonight, would be his next opponent, I imagine. Because Smith has done a couple of losses now, so I think that'd probably be a good matchup to make.
I'd love to see that fight. I don't know if it'd be that good for Anthony Smith, depending on what fighter we see come out tonight for in terms of Walker. But same with Spann. I think winner of this fight would be good for Anthony Smith.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Looking at Ryan Spann, I just staying there. Beat Sam Alvey at UFC 249 by a split decision, so it was very close. Devin Clark, he beat by guillotine. So he's got a lot about it in terms of he's got multiple ways of finishing the fight. A left uppercut win against Antonio Nogueira, of course. So he's got a lot of ways to win the fight. But I think Johnny Walker 6'6". I won't be surprised to see something spectacular from him tonight.
Oh, same to be honest. I think it's kind of the perfect fight for like a spectacular knockout to happen because
especially in that smaller cage.
Yeah, both guys are like they're huge, massive. Both of those lads you kind of see like pulling off something crazy. One thing I will say actually randomly is a bit small but kind of off topic, but how they're both Dana White Contender Series products, that come from that show and just thrived. It's insane. It's kind of Dana White Contender Series. Do you think it's becoming better in terms of producing fighters in recent years? Is it better than Tough?
I think it's getting there. I think the fact that Tough has so much in terms of body of work, where it's been around for so long, I think you just have to almost edge it there. But if you're a fighter in the present day right now and you get called up and you get a decision between Contender Series and Tough, Contender Series is the place to go. It's one fight And if you get a good win, you're pretty much guaranteed a contract to the UFC.
True, yeah, no, it's a good shout there. I agree. I think I'd go with that first, but obviously there's the coveted kind of the history of Tough and everything. But in recent times, I think unless Tough comes back and is absolutely banging this year, then I think Dana White Contender Series is kind of the way to go. In terms of financials, I guess Tough is probably the way to go, because if you have the confidence to go in and then you have the ability to win that entire show, you're going to come out with a nice paycheck. Obviously, win Dana White Contender Series and then thrive from there. You are as well, but
yeah, I wonder. You know, you mentioned Tough might be the more financial route in terms of the UFC alone. But I wonder, we've seen it. Brendan Loughnane, is the perfect example there. He became the hottest prospect overnight because he wasn't given a contract. So even if you lose that, and the public, we saw it this weekend. With all due respect, Danielle Wolf got a first pro fight, and she got given a contract, and many was like, why are you giving her a contract over these 6, 7, 8 contenders that have fought and grinded their whole careers out? It can work either way. Either you get a contract and people turn on you and go, right, you didn't deserve that contract, or you get the Brendan Loughnane situation where he doesn't get a contract and rightfully deserved one, but he then becomes the hottest prospect overnight.
Yeah, it's a good shout. There's a lot of kind of trade-offs in a sense. That's what I was going to say earlier about the balance. Is like there's a trade-off between which way you go, because if you go Tough, you could end up coming out really good even if you lose, but you could also make a tit of yourself, like your man who was it that was the Let Me Bang bro? Oh, him. What the name slipped it's at the tip of my tongue.
I can hear the quote, but I can't see the person who said it.
Oh, I can tip my tongue, but you could go down that route and you could kind of like make become a meme off that, but then you could also thrive off it and become a really big personality after. But then you and then have the financial gain. But then you could go the quicker route and win on Contender Series, look really good, and then try and get as many fights as you can and just push on the UFC. It's interesting. That's one thing I'd love to see. I'd love to see a fighter's perspective on which one they go for now. I might
definitely. Maybe we should ask Brendan that. Someone who's been on both. He's done both Tough and the Dana White Contender Series. But we've also seen, people.
He'll say Tough because he actually got to the UFC from Tough.
Don't. I was gonna say, we've already seen people from this season of Dana White's Contender Series getting their UFC debut. Imperial Kasangane, I believe his name is. He got his contract in a 2-week turnaround. Corey McKenna is making a debut in November. So we're seeing, these names that are being given contracts this year making their debut within 3-4 weeks.
Love to see it. It's nice. Yeah, it's good because they're not waiting for an entire season. You're not waiting around to hop on the final Tough finale card, for example. You're in Dana White Series, in a cage, you're out, and then you're back in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, depending. If they're trying to get you in a quick turnaround to be between those time frames.
Definitely,
I think, especially in current climate.
Yeah, 100%. I was just saying, maybe the only drawback is you're not getting the expertise from a Conor McGregor and a Uriah Faber being your coaches, or a Chael Sonnen and Rampage Jackson. You're not getting those sort of little bits of extra knowledge that you might get being on Tough.
The personality might not come out as much as well as you do for the prolonged time that Tough goes on for as well of episodes. But in view, actually, that's one thing. When Tough's back, is kind of compare viewership numbers between the two and see how that goes well. Yeah, I think one first.
Yeah, I think Tough. It's already been mentioned. It's coming back. Obviously, Dana White Contender Series is coming back off hiatus after UFC Fight Island, and I believe they're starting shooting for Tough for there. So it'll be interesting to see what almost the hype is for both of them, considering they're both being almost released and promoted at the same time. But I think if you get the right names, like I was thinking, maybe Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, they want to make the rematch. Just add something extra because people don't want to see the rematch for the title. Make them coaches.
It'd be great.
Do a West versus East Tough. Make them the coaches.
Have lads from the West and lads from the East. Then you miss out. The guys in between are probably like, hey, don't forget about us. But yeah, no, I agree 100%. All right, we're coming to the end of this.
Yes, we're getting the first prelim underway, I believe, at the moment now. So I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
What about your bets for the night, Mitch?
Oh yes, mixed picks. Of course, we've got one ACCA to go through. Of course, 4.19 to 1. That's to the UK odds. It's 5.19 in terms of decimals. That is available with Bet365. Quilter, what's your thoughts on this ACCA?
You know what? He's very, very reliable in terms of his picks. He's got a few singles going out there as well that have been pretty good. But this
That'll be on our Twitter.
Yeah, I like it. For all the singles, yeah, you go on all our social media to be on. This Isaka, I agree with it. I'll probably actually put a few quid on that one myself.
Yeah, my luck with Aka's recently has not gone to plan. I was one away from £1,300 from a free bet last week. I'm still hurting.
Like if you cried.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button just to make it feel a little bit better. But make sure to give Quilter a follow on Twitter. It's Quilter Debara. He's doing a lot of the European circuit. We'll have some more stuff with the European circuit coming out very soon, which we'll be happy to show you guys. But make sure to drop him a follow. He's fantastic in terms of the Bellator, the EMCs. Just give them a follow, and you'll see everything on there.
UK and Ireland as well.
Especially with Cage Warriors Trilogy coming up, of course, next week, and of course the Bellator Milan show. European MMA is, fully on the map again after what was a 3-4 month downtime. But yes, make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure to comment your prediction down below, Colby Covington or Tyron Woodley, and we'll see you guys on the next video.